Hello everybody and welcome to Training Tip Tuesday. I'm Courtney Cooper. I'm owner of C Square Farm and partner in Excel Star Sport Horses. And today we're going to look at Training Test B, which is the championship test that will be run this weekend at Maryland Horse Trials. So we're going to look at 3 different horses of mine that I'm riding. The first is a young mare. And what I'd like to say to all of you is, don't forget that each movement is scored independently. So if you have a bad movement or a break or something happens, just know that it's one score and keep fighting for those half points. It's nice now that you can earn half points because it will improve your score dramatically if you keep working through the transitions and trying to get a better quality movement. So you can see this mare is a little inconsistent in her frame. So the one thing I would say is if you could widen your hands and sort of keep pushing the leg to the hand and try to steady her a bit, that would be better. When you do the lengthening across the diagonal, you want to make sure first and foremost that the horse is straight, that they have all 4 legs on the diagonal, they're pointed at K before you ask for the lengthening. The other thing that the judges will reward you very well for is that make sure you have a transition before K and that it's a transition rather than a slowing down. I'm going to skip around a little bit in the movements and hit them with each horse separately. So you saw she picked up the canter really well at F. She was straight on the long side. That's ideally what you'd like to do. You don't want to have your horse anticipate picking up the canter before they get to F, because the real test of that movement is whether or not they pick it up on a straight line. You can see there coming across the diagonal, she didn't really prepare herself very well for that transition, and it was awkward. Her head came up, and I was fighting just to get her to go forward into my hand and connect. But you can see now that she's regained her composure. She does a nice lengthening on the canter circle. And that's what I'm meaning. If you have those awkward moments, like this mare in her test couldn't do a canter or canter-trot transition to save her life, you'll see here we're awkward again. You just have to keep going and keep fighting for the next movement. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. When you go to the walk there, you can see that I sort of, with her, didn't prepare again as well in the corner as one would have liked, because you want to use that corner, use your inside leg, your left leg to your right rein to prepare her so that when you get 2 strides before A, you sit, and then your walk comes right at A, and then you can push them right into the corner after A, get them straight on the long side, and get a nice stretch as you go across the diagonal, and really march with the walk. Again, you want to make a nice transition at the end down at H so that the judge can really reward you for seeing a free walk with a nose stretched, not curled, going to the connection, and then having that connection reestablished in the medium walk. So that scored about a 35. I thought that was generous at times, but again, overall the quality was quite good. This next horse is a horse with a little bit more experience, but he's only 5. The last one was 4. And so he has some bobbles as well. But again, the overall quality is better. When you come down the center line to start, keep in mind that the judge doesn't know how big and swinging your trot is. The first movement that they see is the turn off the center line to the long side. So don't carry so much trot that when you go make your turn, you sort of fall into a lack of balance. You want to have a good balance as you come off the center line to the long side. And then the same thing as you make that half circle. When you make the half circle, you want to think about having your outside leg hitting the center line. That will produce an accurate half circle and return to the track at M and at H. Again, you want to make sure you have a transition back. You can see that that horse actually had a very nice transition back. And then on the stretchy circle, it's a little bit like the walk. You want to prepare it in the corner by pressing your inside leg, your left leg into your right rein, so that when you get to A, you can start them stretching down and out. You can see that that horse sort of cheats and actually keeps his pole low but curls his head in, and that's actually quite wrong. And he should stretch to the bit and get his neck longer and go to the contact. I was accurately scored for that, and that was a good thing. The next thing you could see is when he picked up his canter, he anticipated and actually cantered in the corner, got quite crooked, hit the boards. So again, you really want to think about preparing that left leg to the right rein as you've picked up your rein from your stretchy circle. Spend a moment to really get the established connection so that when you get straight, you can have the canter be on the long side. So now we've gotten to the right lead canter, the medium canter on the circle. As you go to the medium canter on the circle, you want to think about starting to add your leg a couple strides before the medium canter circle so that your horse starts to lengthen immediately as they get onto the circle. And you want to ride the outside of the circle. You want to think about pushing your horse from your inside leg to your outside rein so that they really use the outside of their body and stretch. And keep in mind that it isn't faster, but it's longer. And then when you come back, again, the transition is at the middle marker at B or E. It's not after. So you want to have the transition happen slightly before so that they can see at B or E that the transition has been made. Again, have it be a transition and don't have it just be a slowing. So here you see him preparing to trot. He trots well. Again, right leg, left rein. Make sure, look to your turn, look to your judge, look to the center line so that you get nice and straight on the center line. Sit for a few steps and then ask for your halt. This test is really about using your turns to prepare the next movement. This final test is at the AECs last year. It's with another 5-year-old that I had going there, the river horse of ours, our River Star. I was a little disappointed because, again, you can see he's a little inconsistent in the connection. Looking back at this test, I think if I had risen the trot perhaps a little bit intermittently, he would have had an overall better connection because you can see that he loses the connection a bit. So what I would tell you is if you've got a horse that's a little bit fumbling in the connection, go ahead and post the trot because generally you can send them a little bit more to your hand in the posting trot and they'll react by staying a little bit softer over their back. Again, you can see that the horse is moving forward and free through his top line. I'm going to get straight here on the diagonal and then push and really ask him to come forward. This horse actually does a good stretching circle. I prepare it in the corner and you can see as he gets to A, he starts to stretch. He doesn't stretch really low, but he does stretch out, which is really what they're looking for, is that the frame changes the length of the horse's body. So again, preparing here, inside leg to the outside rein so that he's straight on the long side before he canters, and then using the outside of the circle to bring the medium canter around, and then again making that transition, which is always very vital to get a good score. It's not always being able to go forward, but it's being able to go forward as well as to come back. That's what the judge really wants to see, and they'll reward you really well for that. Good trot transition prepared that. Basically, by doing that at the quarter line, you ask the horse to start sitting down on their haunches and lightening their front end so that when you get to X, it's a simple matter of giving one more half halt and they drop into the trot and it's balanced and moving forward. That's another nice medium canter circle. You can see at the very end, we lose the connection, maybe widening the hands at that point to try to keep the horse a little bit more stable. Again, on the quarter line, rebalance so that over the center line at X, you can trot well. Again, use the corner there so that you have a nice walk transition at A. Then you really want to push them into the corner. As you ask for your long walk, again, you want to think about the horse's neck going out and down. You can see this horse is sort of fumbling in the connection a little bit. He's down and he's up. If your horse starts doing that, think, I'm just leaving the arena. Don't get anxious or nervous, but just say, I'm going to leave the arena. Very rarely do you see a horse jig or flop its head around when it's leaving the arena because all the pressure is off. So if as a rider, you're walking across the diagonal, trying to get a nice free walk, and you can think about leaving the arena and just letting yourself relax a little bit, I think you'll have an overall better quality of the walk. He picked up the trot. Again, look for your center line by turning your head and make sure that you get nice and straight to the judge. Have a good halt, make much of it, give your horse a pat, and go on with it. I hope everybody has great luck this weekend. Look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.